excited to be back on IGTV. It's been quite a number of months as of last episode, so it's great to be back, and we are just waiting for a few seconds to get my wonderful guest online, and we start chatting. It will be light, exciting, and meaningful conversation, I'm very sure. Some of you know my guest, I'm sure, because she has an amazing following. Some of you might not know her, but you will learn about her and her wonderful work and her journey. So I'm really looking forward to talk to you all, to talk to Natalie, and to have you all joining me at this conversation. I'll just give her a few seconds till she joins. Hello, my friends. I see the familiar faces. It's wonderful. I think she's joining us now in a few seconds. Just give her a chance. Hello, everyone. Hello, Natalie. Different Natalie, but also my very dear friend. Yes, I kind of miss that platform. It's been a while. Let me see. I think Natalie's online now. Now I just accepted her, so let's see. Let's try again. Hello, Natalie.
Good evening.
Oh, good to see you.
Good to see you too.
On this platform.
Not in person.
And glamorous and happy, and I'm very happy to see you. Thank you for joining.
Thank you very much for having me.
It's a pleasure. So just a few words how I conduct this conversation. Anyway, it's our chat, right? So it's very easy and free. I'll just say a few words about the Conversations with Olga as a platform. I will say a very, very brief introduction about you, and then you take over.
Fantastic.
Well, thank you again. Thank you everyone for joining me. It's actually been since July. My last episode was in July, and it's been very busy summer, and I've been extremely busy with all my projects during the fall, so I apologize that it's been a bit of period of silence, but tonight we have a wonderful guest. It's the episode number 43 on Conversations with Olga that I started about 2 years ago during the pandemic, during the circuit breaker, with the goal to introduce my friends and personalities whom I've met during my life and during my career, and introduce them to the multicultural community of Singapore and global community at the platform that I felt and I was able to do, because I'm not a very technical person, that is accessible and interesting. These conversations run the gamut of from intellectual and cultural conversations to more personal exchanges and how people fulfill their dreams. My main mission for this platform, I should say, for this podcast, is to inspire and cultivate a more diverse and multi-inclusive community that can learn from one another and just be kind to each other. So it is my honor to have my guest for tonight, my dear friend Natalie. I will say a few words, as I said, about you, and then I will read a little bit to make sure that I don't mix your platforms and your beautiful achievements, and then we'll start the conversation.
Great.
Natalie has over 25 years of consulting experience in the field of media, travel, sports, and wellness. She has produced many series, including the Facebook lifestyle program Keeping It Real, Zero to Hero, and is the most and the host of the travel program, No Limits for Business Insider, who also ran like a woman, World Health Organization Facebook ambassador, and accomplished athlete, of course, and trainer. Natalie is very active on social media and is constantly creating an incredible and very powerful content. So even though I said a few words about you, of course, we all want to know about your journey and your tips about the holistic and healthy lifestyle. But at the moment, we will start with something that probably radiates to all of us, and it's social media. And I want to know how it's all started, and because right now marketing and content creation is extremely vast, and there are so many players in the field trying to make the name for themselves, trying to spread the information, whether it's true or not true. So especially this increased number of platforms these days. So I want to know what it is like for you when you started. It's actually 25 years ago.
Yeah, so I mean, marketing was a very different world back in the old days. You know, it was all about brochures and public relations back then, and some events. But certainly there was no email marketing even, or definitely not social media. So it was a very, very different world from where we are now.
Yes, of course. Yeah, absolutely. What was the learning process like for you?
Yeah, I think back then it was very much just dig in and get it done. You know, I think there was a lot of opportunities, and if you worked hard, you progressed up the ladder. So, you know, back to what it is today, you know, if you had supportive bosses and people around you, then you flourished. And I think if you were willing to make some mistakes and try some different things and be creative, and be consistent, was definitely the key.
On a field. Yes. And you know, it's quite difficult to be original when you create the content. And I think we're all trying our best to do so. Sometimes it works, sometimes there are no. It doesn't work. There are so many creators, really good ones as well, but not so good ones also. Did you have to conduct any market research before you decided on a media platform instead of, for example, some other platforms, art or music or some other expressive?
Yeah. So I think, you know, Facebook and Instagram was sort of the go-to because they seemed to be reaching the most amount of people at that time. And I wanted to tell some stories, and I thought that was a good way to do it. I had no idea of what I was doing, to be totally honest. So, you know, back then it was just post things. Some things worked, some things didn't. I'm still learning today. You know, but I think, you know, whenever I joined, maybe it was 11 years ago or so, the important thing was, again, just to have a routine. So, you know, when people say, oh, how did you get your followers? It's like I've posted every day for 11 years, basically. And so it just grows slowly, and it's a long game. It's not a short win game.
Yeah, I can totally relate to it because I'm not as savvy on social media, although I'm trying to be active, and I've started to be more active actually during the pandemic. And for me personally, it was very important to have the substance, to create the content that I can relate to myself personally. So I think the authenticity has been always very important to me, and I feel that it is just as important to you as by going through your post and just following you. What are the challenges that you faced in your journey to create such a huge following?
Yeah, yeah, you know, sorry, I'll let you finish.
That's it. Go ahead.
You know, I think it is just having something to say, and feeling like you're adding value to someone. You know, I think you post things and you hope someone reads them, but you don't know. And I think it's messaging. For me, I've chosen to always be positive on social media. And I've remained consistent with that. And I think sometimes it can be hard if you're in a niche. then, you're only going to appeal to a certain audience. I'm not dancing on TikTok or anything. So, I might post some funny videos and something a bit more lighthearted. But I think you, like you said, you've got to post what you like and not what you think people want. So if you don't like your own content, then that's going to show.
Yeah, it's true. Are there any particular changes in the industry that, or in your life journey for this matter, that really affected it, or impacted your journey and impacted your spreading the words and talking on the social media?
Yeah, I think, when platforms like TikTok came along, it definitely had an impact. But that really took away a lot of younger audience,
Yeah.
which wasn't necessarily my audience. And I think even things when Instagram and Facebook started, it was just about photos and text. And then video started, and we've got live, and we've got stories, and we've got reels. So within each platform, there's so many different ways to communicate the message, and you have to be across all of them because everyone consumes content in a different way and looks and uses the platform in a different way. So I think it's just keeping up with creating something that's the same message, but maybe in different formats.
Yeah. Thank you. And I personally feel that at times, so especially now, social media can be very negative and very biased and not really comprehensive enough. And not just as a consumer, but as a creator, I feel it. And it's very, very challenging for me, and it always keeps me on my toes. And I believe so is really genuine other creators feel the same. And I personally am very conscious not to say anything hurtful, not to say anything ignorant, or not to share something that I don't know for sure. I haven't done the research. So what are your values that you hold for yourself when you share your social media postings?
Yeah.
And
Exactly. I say this to my 14-year-old daughter, the same thing. Once you've posted something or once you've shared something, it's out there, even if you delete it. So you have to think long and hard around what you're saying. So I err on the side of caution always. I'm not controversial. My opinions are my opinions. I don't feel like I necessarily need to share them with everyone on social media. And I think it comes back to, what my parents told me, which is, speak to people like you'd like to be spoken to. So treat people with respect.
very true. Very true. And yeah, just, and I think to some extent, social media at times lacking the critical thinking, and I'm very conscious about it. So I'm trying to kind of relate to it as a social media, and not necessarily as a very, very substance information that I gather from it. So I think some people might not be doing it, or might forget that we all have to be a little bit cautious and study and learn a little bit more in depth rather than to rely only on the social media. Do you personally use social media a lot, just for some of the information or some of the
Yeah,
things that you
I I generally post and then get off. And I try not and be on it for too long every day. I'll scan through. I have certain accounts that I like to look at that make me feel good, actually, not that make me laugh, not necessarily for news or anything, but just light-hearted ones for entertainment. So I might have a coffee and have a quick browse, but I'm certainly not sitting on it all day. I don't have time to do that.
exactly, yes, yeah, absolutely. And knowing your busy schedule, knowing what you're doing, which we'll talk about it a bit later, of course, as well, you definitely don't have time to sit on the social time. And and it's amazing how things actually change so quickly over the years. What could have been as jokes 20 years, now it can be offensive. So I think these sensitivities, and I personally love that collectively as a as a human race, most of the time, not all the time, unfortunately, we have become more aware and empathetic. Also, there are times in life, especially now, that it totally goes the other way around. But nevertheless, I think it's important for us to know and to learn the sensitivities of the people around us and the situations that we are in. So do you feel sometimes restricted in telling your truth in order to align with more popular views?
I never take the popular view. I'm a very honest person, and my whole thing is lead with kindness. So if you do that, then you're not going to be controversial. You're trying to understand. I'm a big lifelong learner as well, so I try and keep an open mind and understand where everyone's coming from, because everyone's in a different situation and has a different experience.
Yeah. And how do you personally write about sensitive topics, if you ever do?
Yeah, I generally don't. I'll have, discussions with friend groups offline, but I generally don't post a lot online, just because a lot of stuff online, you don't know whether it's real or not, or you're not sure where it's being sourced. And we're seeing that currently with, photographs that aren't from now and being pulled back. So I think it's a very slippery slope. And I would rather take a step back and not necessarily comment publicly.
And just on this subject a little bit further, what do you think about cancel culture? Have you ever experienced anything that demoralized you, maybe, or maybe you want to stay off social media for certain reasons? And if so, how do you cope with it?
Yeah, I'm very lucky. Most of my followers will, 99% of them are fantastic. And, occasionally there'll be someone who's maybe having a bad day that, needed to vent. But I think, a lot of the cancel culture are just people sitting at home that are frustrated. It's also a lot of bots out there. Yeah, so some of it's not even real people that are stirring the pot. So, my advice to people is just be very careful, because you don't know where it's coming from and what the end game is. And everyone can believe in what they want to believe in and be who they want to be. And so it's respect that, but also respect everyone else's opinion as well.
I agree, and you probably will agree if I'll state that social media could be extremely dangerous. Don't you think so?
Yeah, I think people can be dangerous, but social media necessarily isn't the danger. So it's the people using it that are the danger. Yeah.
Yes, to express themselves without actually learning it in depth, and this could be very dangerous just due to the ignorance. Yes, I agree. But when you talk and then when you want to convey, when you want to share, what kind of news and happenings inspire you that you are happy to share, that you're happy to put up on your platform?
Yeah, I mean, I love the underdog stories. I love someone who's gone through a challenge and come out the other side and faced adversity. I think there's so many people in the community that do that day in, day out, and they're not superstars, but finding those stories is really powerful, and sharing those, because they're much more relatable than a celebrity doing it. So I think that's where the power of social media comes into it as well. And I think sometimes everyone just needs to laugh. So, I like to share funny things too, because, I don't think we laugh enough. So a bit of a giggle during the day is also good and can inspire you in different ways.
And we all know the laughter is the best medicine, so it's great. And moving forward, talking about sharing, part of your sharing is producing actually and hosting the shows, and this is your part of your also content creation, and even and you're obviously host of the travel show. So our viewers can see by now that you're so totally comfortable on camera, and that you have a great on-screen personality. It's super visible, you're magnifying. Could you share a little bit about how this all started?
Yeah, so the producing and hosting the shows here started actually with Facebook. So I was part of the very first Facebook Creators Program many years ago. I think I was probably the eldest in in the group as well. But it was a great experience. And then we had to pitch show ideas to Facebook and IMDA. And I was lucky enough to get awarded my show. So went on having no idea what I was doing. To be totally honest, I'd never produced a show before. I'd been in shows but not produced one. So it was a real learning curve. But by the time I sort of went through to the second one, then I definitely had more of an idea, and it was great. I loved the opportunity to tell other people's stories.
You're definitely natural, and this beginning developed and what it is today, so it's fantastic. Can you share with us what kind of shows do you enjoy producing or hosting, and just elaborate a little bit on some of the projects?
Yeah, so the first one was Keeping It Real, and we actually took auditions, took three people from auditions and on a 10-week program to make them better versions of themselves. So we followed them ins and outs. We actually ended up with three guys as the subjects, and we had tears from them and all sorts. So it was a very emotional project, and to see them come out the other side was great. And then we did a sport focused one, which was a zero to hero. So taking people over a 6-week journey in a specific sport with national athletes and coaches and dietitians, and to see if they could actually achieve their goal after 6 weeks and what it took to become an athlete. So super fun and super behind the scenes and very real and relatable.
What were the biggest challenges when you were making your shows, and this one in particular?
Yeah, I think timing and coordination was hard, to try and you know, in events, you know.
Very familiar, so I totally can relate to it, and yes, I agree.
Yeah, that was hard. And I think the editing process is, everyone sees the front end and the filming and thinks it's exciting, but the editing and the fine tuning, again, you could relate with events to that. That is the most important part of it, actually.
And what are your happiest moments when you're making your shows? Because, people always ask me about my events or my activations. What are the happiest moments? What is the most incredible event? And I always have the same answer, that they're all my babies, that I create everything that's very close to my heart. But I do have definitely one of the special memories and special projects that I certainly have very close to my heart. So I would like to hear about your projects. What are the happiest memories that you have?
Yeah, I think it was actually the people that were in them and seeing them evolve and being able to give back to people and actually change their life in a way. So for me, that was definitely rewarding. To change people's lives, which not many people get the opportunity to really have an impact. So for me, that was definitely it.
You're definitely a very, very humane person. So definitely, I think the human connection is very important. This is why your shows are a great success. Talking about the platforms, talking about sharing the information, podcasts have now become a huge trending media. And I personally know quite a few people who are hugely successful on their podcasts, and they actually, including some of the guests that I've had on my own IGTV, like somebody like Dr. Miguel Stanley, whom I hosted at the episode, I think, 37, and of course a very, very famous podcaster, Stephen Shalovitz, on his one-way ticket. I believe a lot more people joining this platform and are coming forward to share their knowledge and interest. Do you have any tips for the newcomers or advice for some of the aspiring hosts? And what do you think the podcast substance or podcast presentation that can make it really successful? What is the essence of the successful podcast?
Yeah, so I actually started one about 8 years ago with a friend. and we did about 5 episodes, and that was it. It was just too hard. At the time, we were busy. So I think if you are looking into podcasting, then definitely have a go, but you need a plan. You need to be as consistent as you are with social media. You need to be a bit more niche because there are so many podcasts out there now that it's super hard to break into the market. So look for something that maybe isn't out there, or a topic that you really like and can talk to quite easily. It has to be a passion, or else that's not
Yeah.
going to shine through.
Actually, there's one comment that I can read to all of us, that obviously your fan is writing that you, with your podcast, you've changed so many people's lives with your positive vibes. So that's the comment. I wanted to, I'm not sure whether you see the comments, but I did, so I'm just sharing.
Oh.
And, we move into something that actually we can share. You're an author, I'm an author as well, so we both have been writing, and you wrote an amazing book, and you are a co-author of a very, very important, I should say, very brave and very, very factful book called Run as a Woman, Run Like a Woman. I love the title, by the way. It stands out immediately because it's so it's so strong. Can you please share this about, and what triggered this very, very brave content for the book for you?
Yeah, so my co-author, I had met many years ago at an event in Jakarta. He's based in the US and a doctor. And we kept in contact and friends. And then he approached me last year and said, I'm thinking about writing this book. Would you like to be involved? He's already written 14 books. So, it was a great person to co-author with. He knows what he's doing. And it was a topic very close to my heart. So for those people that don't know about the book, it's around training around your menstrual cycle for women. So a topic that is not talked about very much and impacts half of the world. And especially, if you're in Asia, it's even talked about less.
Nobody really expresses so many things about it. So yes, as I said, it's extremely brave from your side.
Yeah. And I think, I think it's had an impact, which is great, on young girls. I'm at schools talking to teenagers, which is fantastic. And I used to get, hundreds of private messages on the topic when I'm racing. So it's nice to try and bring it to the forefront. And it's not a book for athletes. It's just a book for women who want to understand their body better. And know what's going on and how to harness the power of ourselves.
Thank you. And please, all our readers, if you haven't looked at this book, the book is available on Amazon, and I'm sure if you write a personal message to Natalie, she will guide you and tell you where to buy the book, and I'm sure
Yes.
you can even sign up for that if somebody would be able to do so in the same country. So thank you for sharing. And I know how personal it is to write a book. I've written 2 books, as you know, and I share some of, to an extent, my journey and my personal feelings. So it was very gratifying for me to be able to do so, just like it is for you. So I admire you for doing that. I believe that it was very personal to you as well, wasn't it?
Yes, it's got my personal stories from growing up right through to current day. So, I did sort of bare my soul with certain parts in there. So, I can't ask people to talk about it if I'm scared to talk about it. So that's why that was included in the book.
And because this book is for women, not as you mentioned, not only about the athletic part of it, what do you hope the readers take away from this book?
Yeah.
What's your message in a nutshell?
Yeah, I hope they take away a better understanding of their body, and that how to be kinder to their body, maybe not push when they don't want to push, but also just to understand what's going on. and be better educated around how to make the most of your body as well. So I think it's a real education piece, and think about stories of things that's happened to you personally, and you know what maybe you could have done better had you known that. So share it with young girls, with sisters, daughters, whoever, to help educate them.
And of course, you're an athlete, and yeah, I want to talk a little bit about football as much as I can about it as well. And in order to write such a book, athletic sports and nutrition knowledge in general clearly plays an important role in your life. How did this journey in sports started for you, and fitness in general started for you? What are some of the core philosophies behind it, and your thoughts in general on health? And we'll talk a little bit about it more in detail.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up playing sport. I came from a family where my mother played sport, my father played sport. They still are both very active in their 70s. So it was non-negotiable in our house. And always grew up playing a team sport because my parents believed that that taught us many things on how to work with other people and overcome obstacles, and work as a group. So always played, and then, you know, once I hit my 20s, I got into a bit of running, just to stay fit, really. And it wasn't until I was in my, you know, 30s, late 30s, that I became really a competitive athlete. So for anyone out there, it's never too late, you know, to start ever.
For me, and unfortunately, I have a challenge to convince my own self to be more active and more sporty. So I admire you, and I give myself almost every day promise that I will start and I will do it regularly. I'm doing small steps, so I will probably need to talk to you more, so you can do a bit of a pep talk for me.
Yes.
But I've heard that obviously that the Spartan challenges are one of the most brutal and most intensive and most difficult athletic courses. What is it like to be trained for this?
Yeah, the the training is hard because it is a running race, but then obviously there's a lot of obstacles involved. So a lot of grip strength. You need to be strong in a lot of different ways, and then going to a couple of world championships as I did. You know, you're running on top of ski resorts and mountains and swimming in water that's 0 degrees. So it's very mental, like any challenge.
Yes.
The mental side comes in a lot. So you can train the physical, but you also need to train the mental.
So your stamina is obviously extremely strong.
Yes, it is. Yeah, I can keep going. So that's my whole thing now. I've got older. I can't go as fast, but I just go longer.
Incredible. What is the feeling like after you finish a race or after you finish the competition? What does it feel like?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, thank heavens it's over, is always my first thought. But it's that satisfaction. So I do these ultra marathons and things to put myself out of my comfort zone and to challenge myself and to see how far I can push. So for me, that's what it's all about. And you know, I think we live a very comfortable life. So if I can put myself in different positions that I have to get out of, and they're a bit uncomfortable, or wild dogs chasing me down the street in Malaysia as I'm running 200 kilometers or whatever it may be, that it's all part of my story and it's all part of the journey.
You know, and it takes huge discipline to do so. To be honest, as I said, I struggle to keep the routine and stay positive and optimistic, especially on days I feel more mentally, emotionally, physically tired. So I'm not sure I'm sure I'm not the only one. How do you deal with that? If there are moments like that happen in some of the days?
Yeah. So consistency is key. So my advice to you would be, even if you just go and do 10 minutes, you know, people think they have to go and exercise for an hour, or they have to go to the gym for an hour or run 10 kilometers. just do 10 minutes. And it's just about making sure we do something every day, no matter how small, and tick the box and thank yourself for doing that. So, you know, don't think big, think small, and just do that. And maybe you're out for 10 minutes and decide you're enjoying it and you stay for 20 minutes. But just, you know, small chunks.
No excuses, basically. I'm working on it.
Yeah, and I'm a creature. It's all about habits. So already prepared for my run tomorrow are my shorts and my running shoes and everything already out. So I don't have to think about it in the morning. I get up, I put on my gear, and I go. So taking out any decision making in the morning is definitely helpful. If you see your shoes there, then you're more likely to put them on.
Actually, this is actually what my next question, the next point was do's and don'ts. So these are obviously do's. To prepare the gear the night before. This is actually what I do right now. I'm trying to give no excuses to myself. So in the morning, I just put everything on, and I'm just trying to do even a little bit. So that's all what I have to wear. So yeah, that's definitely do for me as well. Lately, I'm trying at least.
Yeah.
What are the don'ts with regards to the healthy routine?
Yeah. I mean, I think, you know, I think don't not be kind to yourself. So don't talk yourself out of anything. You know, I always say to people, believe that you can do it, have a go. Don't feel embarrassed. Don't feel overwhelmed. You want to get your head in the right space. So, you know, a lot of women, especially I talk to, say, "Oh, I don't want to do that because people are looking at me." Well, actually, no one's looking at you. Everyone's looking at themselves. They're worried about themselves. So don't let those excuses put you off anymore. Just get out there and do it. I think is key.
I'm going to rerun our conversation in the mornings, my dear, just to start for my own self. Um, Thank you for sharing. Moving a little bit about the business side of it. I know that you're an ambassador of a number of sport brands. I also believe and I understand, and I've seen it before, and please correct me if I'm wrong, some of the brands could be unethical. So how do you choose whom you represent? How do you relate to the particular product, the particular brand? And whether you had some instances when you had to drop a product for some reason, that because of the values didn't align with your own. Did it ever happen?
Yes, a lot. So I probably say no to about 90% of the things that cross my desk.
Yeah.
And the brands I am involved with are all long-term relationships. I feel like I'm part of the family with those brands and their products, and that I believe in and that I use every day. So I can't talk about it in a genuine way if I don't believe in it. So I try everything before I even engage with these brands. Most definitely, one that comes to mind that I might quite a funny story. So I actually got offered a lot of money to do an engagement with Shein. And it was my 14-year-old daughter. I told her this, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, you can't do that. They're so bad for the environment. You couldn't, you know, don't take the money." And it was like, absolutely, I'm not going to. But you know, it's saying no to things like that, because once you go down that rabbit hole, it's very hard to come out of that. And it's
Exactly.
for me, it's reputation damaging. So it's, you know, no amount of money would do that. It would be same as me doing a McDonald's promotion. That's never going to happen. So it's just
So
not
happy
something.
with that there. I'm really, really very happy because this is my position as well. I do not take any endorsements of the products that I personally cannot relate to, that I personally don't use, and that I personally will not be able to be an ambassador of. It
Yeah.
just, it's my reputation, exactly. So if I do talk about the product, if I do use if I share with my listeners or my viewers the routine, I show them exactly what I use day in and day out, not something today one product and tomorrow another product. I personally don't believe in it. So thank you for sharing this and being with me on the same wavelengths. I appreciate it. Um, I would like to move into the very important subject for all of us, the health values. There are a lot of fields of holistic wellness. Some believe in genetic predisposition for certain health conditions, metabolism. Some believe in a totally enhancement with all the different products and the injections and things like that. What about? Can you share with us your values when it comes to health?
Yeah, I'm non-judgmental. People can do whatever they like. It's their decision. I'm very much the natural route. So, I believe that we all eat too much, and first and foremost, people don't take responsibility for what they put in their mouth. So I'm all about sleep, eating whole foods and moving, just keeping it simple, and eating a bit less is definitely key when it comes to things like supplements and putting different things in. I take one supplement, AG1, an athletics green, and that's all I take. I don't feel like we should be putting a lot of things into our body that we can be getting from food. And if we're getting enough sleep, then that's the free thing that everyone can change, but people don't do it. Yeah.
So by saying that, do you think that the exercise can fully replace the chemical and medical treatments or some artificial enhancements, even though they claim to be an important supplements?
Yeah. So I think people, I think if weight loss is a goal for you, then it's about food. It's not about exercise. 90% of that happens in the kitchen. Exercise is just to make us feel better and maybe tone up. So if we're thinking about maybe using an M sculpt or something like that that's available, maybe it helps a little bit, but longer term, I think people have to understand that they need solutions that's going to fit into their lifestyle. I always say, every diet works if you stick to it, but people just don't stick to it. So you have to think about the long-term game, not what's happening in 2 weeks. I want to lose 2 kilos to fit in that dress. It doesn't work like that, sadly. There is no magic pill, as much as everyone would love a magic pill to solve all the problems.
But Natalie, you obviously have a much deeper knowledge because you have a degree in physical science. Um, so you obviously have a knowledge for that enhanced your training abilities and understanding, um, isn't it?
Yeah, and
How
yeah.
now to um, do what you do and to set your certain routines.
Um, I actually have a coach myself, so I don't coach myself. I have a running coach because for me, I like to learn constantly. Yes, of course, I take the knowledge I have and apply it to myself, most definitely. But when it comes to performance, I think if everyone can afford it, then a coach of some kind, or an expert is definitely well worth it.
Yeah. And moving a little bit back into the social media, there are so many trends out there. There's so much information on exercise routines, on diets, and a lot of them are also inadvertently could be false and have a negative effect. And you start to trusting people, and it's all about the marketing, and there are a lot of the fake doctors, all content creators for this matter. I'm sorry, I said something that some people might not like. How do you deal with it? And I'm sometimes overwhelmed.
Yeah, and I think
How to manage basically and navigate this endless barrage of all this information that is very, very subjective.
yeah, I think it's social media and it's Dr. Google and it's, you know, people following things because their friends are doing it who are definitely not experts too. You know, my advice when it comes to the eating side is I'd be very wary of anything that I see on social media. Everyone's bodies are different. Everyone has different tastes, different things work. So go and seek a professional, and ask for, you know, their qualifications first and foremost. Don't just follow an influencer who's, you know, drinking soup for 3 weeks to lose weight or something. And then when it comes to exercise, again, there's a lot of people out there putting crazy exercise and routines out there. I'm sort of torn on this one because I think if someone sees someone and they're not moving and that gets them off the couch, then all power to them if that's what actually inspired them to get off the couch. But again, if you're really into your exercise and you're doing certain movements, especially when it comes to weighted ones, you really want someone who is an expert. So you can seek out YouTube videos, but find the right person who's actually a proper trainer.
So that goes back again to the same point that you and me made before. Critical thinking is extremely important, I think, because social media could be damaging and could be for better, could be for worse, but I think your advice is very valuable. You just have to do what it feels right for yourself, and for sure. I would like to move a little bit into the communication, into the relationships. In your line of work, you interact with so many different people and all the time, and I can relate to it as well because for me personally, I am at times drained by that. How do you cope and still put your positive energy when you're feeling tired yourself? What is your secret?
Yeah, so I think I'm definitely an introvert extrovert, so I love time by myself. I need to recharge, but put me in a room and I'll talk to every person in that room, not a problem. I think it's about balance for me. If I'll say no to things unless I really want to go to them. So I feel like people don't push back enough and they're worried about what people will say if they don't turn up, and they don't feel empowered to stay home and refresh and recoup if they need to. But I think, you know, if you're surrounded by positive people and great energy, then I think you can, you know, everyone, it's a great night. And you know, when you've had those fantastic events and things and the energy is fantastic, what's bad is when everyone's trying to sap that energy. And that's when I think I get tired.
Positivity in general. So yes, and then it gives me a kick, and I run on adrenaline, of course, but I think positive, I feel the energy very much so. What are the traits and people that you really treasure and respect? What is important for you?
Yeah, for me, definitely honesty. For me, with friends, it's loyalty. And I think humility are definitely traits, and someone, you know, someone that doesn't take themselves too seriously, I think as well is important.
Yeah, yeah, just be lighthearted,
Yeah.
especially nowadays. You have to kind of be able to lighten up a little bit. And what traits do you dislike?
Yeah, I really don't like arrogance at all. That's for me, that's a number one. You know, I think that would just cross everything for something that I don't like. I don't like people that you know, don't tell the truth either. So anyone that's not upfront and honest. You know, and I think anyone that's not open to learning or hearing other people's opinions. You don't have to agree with them, but at least being open
Yeah,
is definitely one.
the ego issues, as I call it. You know, if you are not
Yeah.
capable of saying, I don't know, but I want to learn, then it's something that is not exactly attractive to me personally.
Yes.
So I like people also very, very honest, very straight, and not entitled. I really
Yeah.
don't like entitlement. So I agree with that. Do you have, and of course it's a very sort of broad and loaded question, but please feel free to share. do you have any role models? I think it's a little bit of a common question, but nevertheless.
Yeah, no, I think my parents, to be honest, I'm very close to both of them. I speak to them pretty much every day still. And I think, yeah, I think they've done a great job, and I still love spending time with them. They're two of my favorite people in the world. So they've supported me in everything that I've done, no questions asked. They're inspiring me. My mum's in the gym and swimming every day, and my dad's just got his black belt in karate. So, they're really pushing their limits too. I think it has to be
I hope
them.
they're listening. If not, you send them the link. I'll send you the link later.
Yeah.
For sure. After all the topics that we've covered tonight, do you have any advice for our viewers that you wish to convey personally on any subject?
Yeah, I think for anyone out there that maybe is overwhelmed with all this information, or trying to get back to exercise, or doesn't know what to do, I have a rule where just do something 1% better tomorrow. So pick anything, maybe it's the walk to the bus and you walk another 100 meters to get that bit of extra exercise in, but don't overwhelm yourself. Just pick a couple of things that you can do 1% better, and at the end of the year you'll see that your life has changed as a result of that.
I will certainly remember that my own self. I said it's challenging for me to get into the exercise routine, but I'm trying. Um, and before we end our wonderful conversation, are there any new projects that you're working on right now and that you're willing or able to share with us?
A really big project next year, actually. Yeah, so will be announced after Chinese New Year, but let's just say I'm running a very long way. I'm going to be raising a lot of money for girls and women to be more active across 3 countries. And hopefully it's something that goes in Guinness Book of World Records as well. So I'll share more when I can, but I'm super excited about it. Excited, but also very, very scared.
You don't look like a person who is scared of challenges. So I'm very proud of you. Of course, we want to know all about it when the time comes. And
Yes.
I'm sure all our listeners who joined us today and who will be joining later as well, because I am going to post the link on my social media. So we're definitely going to be very much interested in learning more and following you and cheering for you for sure. It's been a really refreshing and very useful discussion staying healthy and accomplishing things in a small way, but into the big way, and physically, mentally, and emotionally. So thank you so much, dear Natalie, for taking the time and to talk to me and to all our listeners and to sharing your experience and your journey with us. This conversation will be recorded, as I said, and posted on my social media at Events by Olga, as well on my YouTube under Olga Iserlis. So please join us. And I have, as I said, 43rd episode tonight. Feel free to listen and log in and stay tuned for more. And thank you once again, Natalie. And have a good evening. And
Thank you for a fantastic conversation.
pleasure.
Thank you.